This is the Bristol Bakehouse's version of how to make a gluten-free vegan vanilla sponge. For this you will need some simple ingredients: 150 grams of caster sugar, 75 millilitres of oil, 225 millilitres of soya milk. I've added 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and 1 teaspoon of organic cider vinegar, and finally 180 grams of self-raising sifted gluten-free flour. The first thing you're going to need to do is to pour the milk into the mixing bowl. The reason I've added the cider vinegar is to make it curdle with the soya milk. When you do that, you get a lovely crumb with your vegan cake that normally would come from eggs. Also in there is the vanilla extract. Make sure you get a really good one. Don't go for the really cheap one in the supermarket, because then you'll get a cheap outcome. It's much better to spend the money on the vanilla extract and get that delicious cake you're after. Next you're going to add your sugar, and then you're going to add your oil. I like to give the cake a little bit of colour, so I've used carotino oil in part as well as vegetable oil. You can choose what colour you'd like your vegan cake, so if you'd like more of a chiffon colour, then just stay with vegetable oil. So take a wooden spoon, just mix them together. You really don't have to do much mixing at the moment. And if you wish to use something like a KitchenAid, it makes life a lot easier, but at this stage it really doesn't matter. And when you mix it, you'll see that it hasn't really come together that well. It's when you add the flour that everything binds. To add the flour, I've already sifted mine. Just add in a spoonful at a time and then mix round. It's much easier to do this if you've got beaters or, as I mentioned earlier, the KitchenAid. But for the purpose of this video, I don't want the noise to drown out what I'm saying, so I'm just going to do this the old-fashioned way, by hand. Wooden spoon, just mixing round until you've mixed in all that flour, and then just do the next spoon and the next until all the flour is gone and you have a thick mixture with no lumps in, ready to go straight in your cake tin. When you've finished mixing, it's smooth, it's a lovely colour, and it's ready to go in its tin. So, we've got an 8-inch sandwich tin here, just making one layer today. Obviously, if you want to do a Victoria sponge, then you'd have the 2 layers and you'd do double mixture. So, pour it in. All going in there. No lumps whatsoever. This will rise in the oven, but not quite as much as a conventional cake. Also, if you want to make something that isn't gluten-free, don't use this recipe. This is specially for people who need a gluten-free diet. The mixture is quite liquid. You need that batter so that the cake retains its moisture in the oven. Speaking of which, let's put the cake in now. Set your oven for 190 degrees centigrade. Pop your cake in the centre of the oven for 25 minutes. When you think the cake's done, just check by putting a cake skewer into the middle. If it comes out completely clean, then it's time for the cake to come out of the oven. The cake needs to cool on a wire rack until it's completely cold before removing it from the tin. You'll notice I've used tin foil to line my tin. That's because I've got sandwich tins and it makes sure the mixture doesn't run out underneath with the loose bottom. I think I'm going to make a pink version of this cake as well. If you want a vegan gluten-free paste, Sugarflare do a good range. Just mix in a small amount to the desired colour and then pop in the oven exactly the same as before. I think this cake will taste delicious if it has layers of jam and frosting, so that's exactly what's going to happen to it when it's cooled. If you want to see this full recipe in print, just go to the Bristol Bakehouse website. You'll also see more videos there for other products that we do. Enjoy, happy baking, and if you can, post a pic on Facebook or Twitter to show us your creations.